Since 1969, UCSC has had a vibrant community studies program. Although the first class had only 20 students, the population has grown to more than 250 majors. Although UCSC has more assets this quarter than it ever has before in history, the CMTS program has now been officially suspended so that no students can declare that major. I asked Santa Cruz City Mayor Mike Rotkin, who has been a long-time advocate in the community studies program, his thoughts on this issue.
The suspension of the community studies program is not just a disaster for undergraduate students who have benefited and can benefit from the program. It has a huge impact on the local community and other places around the world. Our students have been kind of key to a number of nonprofit organizations, have founded new nonprofit organizations. It was a community studies student who founded the hospice program in Santa Cruz County. Community studies students who helped in the initial founding of the Community Credit Union, community studies students who founded the AIDS Project in Santa Cruz. There are lots of others we could get into. These organizations, particularly now, they're facing budget cuts because there is a crisis in the state. There is a crisis in local government funding in California. And a lot of these organizations have come to rely on these volunteers, particularly when you can get a full-time 6-month volunteer. It's not someone that's coming in once a week and you spend almost as much time training and supervising them as you get back in terms of their work. These are students who become basically staff people by the end of their 6 months of work. And so we are definitely hearing, there have been many, many delegations to visit the chancellor and the dean of social sciences about these cuts, opposing them and really saying this will be terrible for the Boys and Girls Club, for the AIDS Project. I mean, large numbers of groups in the community. And when they visited the chancellor last year, they were told, well, don't worry, we're not cutting the community studies program. We're just making some budget trimming. It's happening everywhere. It's unfortunate. Times are tight, et cetera. And I don't think he was lying at the time. I think he believed that's what was happening. But fact of the matter is they are cutting the community studies program. It's in suspension. And at least in the history of Santa Cruz, there have been 3 programs suspended, none of which have ever come back. So the current promise is that, we're going to work on this and a little bit of work, we can fix it up and bring it back. I'd like to think so. Maybe if anybody can do it, the community studies students who have organizing skills can make that happen, but it would be a new precedent for it to happen. Suspension usually is a death knell for a program.
Indeed, it would seem the situation is much more serious than I had originally anticipated. There seems to be a systematic removal of the department. So I asked Mike, what can community students really do to prevent this unlawful action?
You have to have faculty members and people on the inside, part of the institution, who understand how does the academic senate work, how do decisions get made, where's the money hidden, things like that, who support the changes that you're looking for. And so, for example, in the community studies struggle, there need to be some faculty members in community studies who decide this is their fight. They're going to stick around, they're going to fight to defend this program, and they're going to stand up and be counted around this issue. You also need sometimes, unfortunately, in the university to have some real pressure to make people wake up and realize that there's a problem going on. And often that's not a situation that faculty are particularly good at or have the ability, the ability to sort of turn out in some way. Yep. So I think having students who are willing to, be involved in peaceful but forceful demonstrations in which they express, this is our institution. We are not just like visitors here. We're not just consumers. We actually are part of a community that's trying to involve education and produce things that are useful for the world. Mm-hmm. And students have in the past had a voice in that. And it might seem naive to people these days, but we know from experience following the 1960s that when students get organized and when they have allies within the faculty and within the administration, which they do have, I think, on this campus, they can make a difference. And we've managed to, save programs in the past that were under threat. They didn't get to the suspension level, but we've managed to create new programs where they didn't exist before. I don't think there ever would have been a community studies program if it weren't for student pressure in the 60s saying we want a more relevant education. We're tired of this kind of Ivy Tower existence where we're all in isolation from the world and studying as if we were cloistered monks in the 13th century or something. I mean, this is supposed to be an institution that has a positive impact on the world that we live in. Taxpayers pay for it, not all of it, but a significant contribution. And it is a public institution. It was founded to serve the people of the state of California. And it would be nice to see the institution sort of meeting that mission on some level. And they're doing a pathetic job of it right now. They have plenty of money to have students studying Greek and Latin and community studies. There's no reason you can't have both. And physics.
So, whether it be the voice of a single student or a large coalition of avid members, community studies can be saved with the help of both faculty and the student body. Meetings are held every Thursday at 6 p.m. in Oaks 103, and they are open to anyone who wants to come to voice their opinions and to talk about the steps that need to be made to save community studies. community studies program plays not only an essential role in our university, but has shaped and evolved societies and international foregrounds. With strong voices like Mike around, it is truly heartbreaking to see the critical fields being removed from our education. For Banana Slug News, I'm Pierce Crosby, showing respect for those who matter.